Okay, so frames help us to understand complex um, ideas, and is it works as a lens of how we see things. So a structural frame will develop in a versatile way, and it's made to understand social architecture and its consequences. So a structure in an organization, in a frame, it's really important. So because if a lot of things can go wrong if there is not a proper structure, or of if there is a weak or weakened structure of a company. So the structure, it's critical and it must be clear. So a clear strategy, it has to be focused on a mission. The roles have to be well defined, and the top-down coordination has to be very well organized, such as the Amazon company, that they have everything very structured, and the customer is first, and that's the premise, and everything follows from there. So because the customer is first, a lot revolves on it. So the service, the efficiency, how to handle the orders, and so on and so forth. And the right combination of goals and relationships, and the and people are essential to perform in and for a good performance in the organizations. Um, this creates a perfect balance, and it helps the company to achieve goals collectively. There are some basics for the structural frame, and any type of organization has to have goals and objectives. It's a must. They cannot exist if they don't have goals and objectives. And the strategies are the means which they will achieve those goals and objectives. So, having the strategies will increase efficiency, and through specialization of distribution of labor, division of labor, um, so each person knows what to do. Coordination and control, rationality has to prevail, so people are engaged in complex tasks, and they are up to date and they fit the current circumstances. They're living as a well, a corporation. It's kind of like as an entity, and it lives as a person, so it's part of the society, and it's formed with members of the society who keep it alive. So it's like a huge organization, um, that it's basically alive through the work of many people. When the organization structure is flawed, uh, it must be reconstructed, and that's the only way that it can prevail in business, um, if it has a restructure. There are two routes from a structural perspective, and there's and then industrial analysts. So there is no design intervention, and is the time and motion studies. So the time and motion studies break the tasks minute to minute. So it's so detailed that everyone is focused on that task. And the book mentions the UPS example, and how they count the steps of the delivery guys, and so they don't get off route, and they don't spend too much time, because time is there. They make money on time. The fastest they get, the more money they make. So it's basically what's it's a source. It's an incredible asset, in the way they structure the organization, is it totally projects that. And the other one, it's a root as a patriarchy. it runs as a patriarchy. So a patriarchy says that it's it's a fatherly figure at the top, and everyone follows orders, and um, everything is a fixed division of labor. Everything is in different offices in a hierarchy, and there are sets of rules, and everyone has to perform up to the rules. And if not, there's people who are looking that the rules are taking place. There is separation of personnel and the use of technology and qualifications. Um, and very important, the employment is viewed as a long-term career, not as a job. It's your life, is everything. So the strategy is how to get to your goal and which approach. So it's everything in life we need strategies. Even if we want to go to the bank and we want to keep people in the line or whatever, or a plan for weight loss and working out or anything, we need strategies. Going to school, um, so you have to have a plan, and you have to have a perspective. So where are you going? Where am I going? Where is the company going? What is the purpose? What is the pattern for decisions, and the position of the company and deploy. So deploy is very important because it provokes a reaction from other competitors, and in the industry, depending where you are, it's very important. um, the structure from a company has to be elastic enough or inflexible that it adapts to all the changes and circumstances of life, because we are like the COVID, which companies survived, which didn't. How did they how were they able to strive, and if the structure they had allowed them to adapt. So the book mentions Kodak, and with the innovator's dilemma. And I grew up near in Mexico, where there was a huge Kodak um, company, and I loved it, and I loved the cameras and everything. And I always wonder what happened to Kodak, because you got the Polaroids, and how come they weren't doing that, even copying? I mean, not copying, but um, trying to stay in secure, like safe money, or no, low risk money, turned the amazing company out, got it out of the business. So um, it's worth the risk to innovate and pursue, because it's within that where you get the centrifugal force that eventually is going to move you forward, because that's where you're going anyways. So if it fails, you just keep going, because every time you fail, you're moving forward. um, so the forms and functions that the book mentions are basically a blueprint. The architectural structure for the company to pursue a specific goal, and it's what differentiates them, and enhances what the company does. Um, Not all the companies work in tighter structures. Depending on the industry, I would say they work better on a tighter structure, or a loose structure. Also, the environment where they are, according to the industry, if it's unstable or it's like very unstable environment, which structure will work the best for them. For stable environments, the hierarchical and rules oriented, um, with flexibility, are the ones that fit the best. And what else? And I have to look at my notes so I keep the flow going. So changes in technology and all structure would render obsolete a company. So that's when they don't want to update, and they want to really don't stay in innovation, because in any industry, wherever you are, with technology moving at such a speed of light, everyone's innovating day by day, because technology is part of our lives. And there is more pressure from society, from globalization, from competitors, from customers, to 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 have um, efficient services in products that work, that are quick, or um, that the company attains the goal, their purpose. Um, and so with the social structure, enables people to do their best at whatever they do the best. So there are basic tensions, that is, where do you put people and how do you coordinate them. So differentiation and integration are very important. And in differentiation is where the division of labor happens, and they allocate the tasks um, for the structure. So who is going where to do what? In many places, airlines, aircrafts, prisons, schools, hotels, McDonald's. They have a different standards of and problems for quality and equity. So the structure has to be based on what the organization is about, and there are many challenges for on coordination and control. And there are two types, vertical and lateral. But within those challenges, you can find the function, which is what's the knowledge or the set of skills people are using to achieve the job, the time, if it's a shift, if it's nighttime, if it's 9 to 5, if it's per production, if they're gonna pay you for whatever amount you produce, the product, um, if what are you producing, the customer, or if it's a client base, the place is very important, and the process. So within those tensions, the challenges are vertical and lateral. And the vertical is um, they have the a higher levels to coordinate the rest of people. So there's like authority, and there's rules and policies that have to be implemented by the subordinates, and those rules and policies make sure that there is a standard behavior, there is a constant. And for example, I was, after reading this, I learned so many things, because for example, when you're doing very dangerous risks, like a pilot, or I don't know, heart open heart surgery, I mean, the risk of doing something wrong, it's so high, the stakes are so high that you can kill someone, or you can kill thousands of people, nuclear weapons and such. So there has to be strict rules and policies for this type of coordinations, and the subordinates are the ones who are in charge of those. So planning and control systems that will really help to make the performance and the action great. But if they are not clear or ambiguous, or it's hard to measure, people don't know, if people feel lost constantly, it will be really really hard to follow a plan where you don't know where you're going. And then the lateral, it's has rules, commands, and systems that take in place, and it's more flexible, it's less formal, and the data flows through all the departments, so anyone has access, and so everyone knows what's going on. So it's a different there's no authoritative in the top, it's just it flows. And the tasks are easier but complex. um, they use task forces whenever high-tech new services are required. um, and this helps them to to um, to expand their product to perform better. Um, the matrix sources is the one that has to access, and it has the business products in one axis and the countries in another one, and companies like Starbucks and Whole Foods use them, and it's a very complex source, and um, I'm interested in learning more. There's networks and structures that networks from partnerships and joint ventures, structures that work with nature at the environment. That's very important because otherwise it will fail. Um, the lateral, the differences between them is lateral is costly. It costs more. Is effective, and it's a face to face, and therefore people has less time to do other activities or perform jobs. The matrix makes complicated everything to manage, and it's just vertical and horizontal, so you have to think simultaneously and you have to coordinate constantly. The vertical is more stable and performs best on turbulent environment. So they place differences between McDonald's and Harvard, and how they have different parameters and goals, and they're in different size, and they're completely different industries, and they perform totally different. So they McDonald's is very minute to minute task, and Harvard is decentralized and allows the professors to teach whatever they want, and McDonald's is not. They don't take creative recipes for new. Everything is expected to certain rules, and so there's a norm. No one is looking for a new flavor each time they buy a hamburger. um, so I'm gonna skip because it's almost 20 minutes. So I'll just skip with strategies and goals. So each fair organization um, has different goals and different strategies within. So according to their industries, however they're gonna perform. The challenges of the global organization are decentralized or centralized. Both have tensions, and sometimes a company might have to use both to be able to prevail. Um, Especially nowadays, with there's so much competition of like being a happy company and happy employees, which that perform best. But with, like everything, structures require maintenance, and it's like any other building that it's something. It's always broken. The light is off, the water, the pipes, or whatever. So the structure of a business, it's always in constant renovation. So at the heart of the organizations, we have differentiation and integration. The division of labor is the right structure of the division of labor. Um, Depends on people and the environment, and the goals, the strategies, and the technology are to understand the complexity of the business. And lastly, the organization aligns with activities outside, and the opportunities that the environment offers. There are two structures that the book describes. It's the one from Mittsburg, and it has these weird pyramids. It's a strategic apex when you have the senior management. It's very traditional, and then you have the middle management in the middle, and then the bottom you have the operational core, and on the side technological structure and support staff. So small businesses usually start with strategic and operational core, and then more complex businesses such as Johnson and Johnson, which they have companies within a company, that's divisionalized. And then there's the other structure, which is the web of inclusion, which is a less hierarchical, and everything is interconnected from the center throughout, and there's no authority, no CEO, like Linux. So it's really free flow. I don't know how it works, but it works. Um, Changes in the outside and then inside require a structural adaptation and high risk of confusion and resistance when this take place, because people don't like changes. We don't like changes. And it works if it aligns well with the environment and the task and